All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome on back to the Cinema Awards podcast. Welcome on back to another Surviving Barstool episode. A little bit of a preview, a little bit of recap, a little bit of predictions. Originally was going to cycle through and try to get a few different Minifans on for these episodes, but had such a good goddamn time the first time around. People really seemed to like it. Said, why fuck with things? Bring the boys back. Let's get the crew back together. So we got John and Warren. We got Stevie alive to tape, and we got the one and only Mick. Boys, what's going on? How we doing?
What's up, Cinema?
What's happening, buddy? Happy to be here. We were just saying this show can't come soon enough. This is my new favorite show, and when it ends, I'm going to be devastated.
Unfortunately, coming quick. 6 episodes. That's all we got left.
All right.
I know. I was thinking we had more, but then when I saw that last recap, I was like, man, there's only 6 episodes left. It's kind of crazy.
Going quick.
It's felt like so long since it's been on.
It has, yeah. Holidays will do that to you. Did you guys have a good holiday, speaking of?
Absolutely.
You guys have a good holiday?
Yeah, it was good. It was pretty good. How was yours, Cinnamon Lord?
Good. Definitely different. Opening up gifts with a kitty on Christmas morning was not something I foresaw in my future, but it was a good time. It was cool. Definitely different.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. But like you guys said, I'm excited to get back into things this week. But I thought this worked out good for us to be able to kind of go back and look at episodes 6, 7, 8, and 9, because I think it's been, probably feeling like that for everybody. Like it's been a while.
Yeah.
So let's get into the first one, episode 7. We got fucking a big alliance going to emerge here. We're going to see that Rhea, Big Cat, and Dave are all working together.
Mm-hmm.
Just pretty good 3-headed monster. I think especially for Rhea, I think that she's hidden behind 2 massive sharks, basically, and she can kind of just ride those guys along. And we kind of saw right out of the gate, Dave said so himself, that she's kind of the one calling the shots. So that's even better if she's not being recognized as that by the rest of the people around her.
Yeah, I think a lot of the rest of the contestants think that she's almost like a leech for the other 2, just kind of hanging on to them, because I don't think anybody wants Portnoy to win. I don't think anybody wants Big Cat to win as far as just the financial sake, that they're pretty much taken care of. So I think Rhea's looked at like using them as a shield, but if you ask one of them right now during the game, she's kind of calling the shots, and she seems to be really into the challenges too. At one point, I heard her say during one of the episodes, I think it was Megan making money, or one of the other girls was celebrating, and she was like, I can't even fucking believe these girls, or something like that. Like, said something under her breath, and I was like, oh, this girl wants to win. You could tell. She's not there to fuck around. I like her. She's growing on me too. She's one of the favorites to win for sure.
I think
if she gets to the end, she's right now at least unbeatable at this moment in time.
She's playing. I think we would all agree, as far as playing the game it's meant to be played, especially this season. She's probably playing the best game so far. Now, you said something, Cinema, as far as people not necessarily realizing what she's doing. I actually think people are going to catch on this next week, and I wonder if she's almost played her hand too far. Like, she's pulled too many strings, and now all of a sudden people are going to catch on and see what she's doing, and that may not play in her favor. Obviously, we'll see.
I wonder if we're going to see the opposite of that. I wonder if Rhea is going to know she has to make a big move. And I wonder if Rhea this week, it's the week that Rhea says, let's get out Dave, because it seems like everybody else is scared to get out Dave. Mm-hmm. I think she's the one person, especially in that alliance, that she could probably grab Mubi. And, obviously if they merge, who knows what's going to happen. But I feel like Rhea could go in there and just pull the plug on Dave. And all of a sudden, that's a huge resume builder for her, because everyone else is scared of Dave, and she's going to step in and just pull the rug out from underneath him.
Yeah, and if you remember I don't remember which idol it was or which tribal council it was, she was petrified about one. She was like, should I play it? Should I play it? She wasn't sure, so she's clearly paranoid, and I think she knows people are going to start catching on eventually, that she can't just ride Big Cat and, Portnoy to the end.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see, we see it one way.
Yeah.
But the way that other players see it, like, do they actually see, like John had said, like, is she pulling the strings, or is she going along for a ride? And that's where like the magic of editing comes in, because in traditional Survivor, the actual edit is so crucial because we only see it one way. And now I think they designed this game obviously the same way, where they edit it a certain way for us to see it. And I think sometimes they edit it so we can follow a thread to the end, but not give away too much. So I don't know. She's a very interesting character. I'll be really curious to see how far she goes.
She's got people from both teams coming to her.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, that one. Who was that? I'm forgetting which scene that was.
Rico.
Yeah,
Rico.
Rico.
That's right. That's right. Mhm.
Especially, I think Rhea's the one that tells him, or it might have been Dave, that Kirk is very aligned with all of the athletes, basically. And Rico says, he's like, well, what the fuck? I just made a deal with Kirk. What am I supposed to do now?
Yeah.
That was good. There was something else that kind of came out of this trio that kind of, especially when I was rewatching today, that got caught my ear. Dave was talking about how his ideal final three would be him, Moobs, and Rhea, which, Steve, I don't know if maybe you'll agree with me on this in Survivor terms, but that would be suicide for him. Like, you would have zero chance of winning, I feel like, if he goes with that final three.
I was thinking about that. What would Dave's ideal final three be? Because unlike traditional Survivor, everybody knows who everybody is. They know their financial worth going into this game. So Dave, the only way I see Dave winning this game is if he somehow brings Big Cat and say Will to the end with him. And then he turns does a bunch of dirty deeds to like build his resume up. But other than that, I just don't know how Dave could possibly win this game. So I don't even know if it matters who's in his final three.
Do you think it's possible for him to play a good enough game up until the end for people to forget about him being the boss, him being rich enough?
I absolutely do.
No.
Is it
Really?
possible? Like if he's
I think so.
My only thought in that is that his thought process maybe with the movie comment? I mean, I'm jumping all over the place here, but
I thought that same thing for a second.
Yeah,
I contemplated it.
Portnoy is like, he's known for content. He's known for kind of being like a I guess a gunslinger. He doesn't care about anybody's feelings. And Dave Portnoy all of a sudden is going to care in the middle of a game. I think he might be playing a psychological play to get people to think that Dave's a good guy. Dave's not a cutthroat all of a sudden. I think he might be riding that towards the end. I don't think it's possible. I think there's no way people are going to vote for him to win, but that could be his move with that.
I think he's also putting more stock in moves than he wants to openly admit.
Yes.
What do you mean, like stock?
Value. Like he's keeping your value. Yeah, he's keeping it closer to his side than, she's a piece on the board.
Well, I think, back to your original question, like if he goes to the three with Rhea and Mubi, I think Rhea crushes him, and it's not even a unanimous vote.
She'd win. Exactly. I was going to say the same thing, unanimous.
Yeah, Mubi would maybe get a vote out of sympathy, but Dave has to somehow make this thing so.
If Dave brings Mubi and if he's the one that like cuts Rhea's throat like down the line and it gets close to the end, he does it at 5 or 4 people, and he's the one that turns on Rhea and gets to the final with Mubi and I don't know, name your third person, then he's got a shot to me. If you ask me to win this whole thing,
yeah. If people vote by who played the best game and they try to keep the financials out of it, sure, he's got a shot. He actually hasn't been playing a bad game.
And at this point, a lot of the people that are going to be voting on the jury are people that have a decent bank account. I don't think they're going to be taking money that heavily into consideration.
Right. And maybe keep a Mubi close.
Athletes, Kirk.
Like if Rhea tries, because Rhea thinks she controls Mubi, which from what we've seen, she kind of does.
Yeah.
But maybe Dave's point of view is, all right, well, if Rhea at some point tries to grab Mubi to get me out, if I'm good to Mubi, maybe she doesn't listen to Rhea and she stays on my side. Could be a thought process.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know if Dave's thought that far through this game.
You're probably right.
I think Dave's just trying to survive. Like Big Cat's a good example. Like Big Cat is playing such a desperate game. Like he's just trying to survive every vote. And like in traditional Survivor, that would kill you. Like people would smell that. But I think Big Cat being Big Cat, he kind of is able to coast. But yeah, I don't think Dave's thinking too much further ahead. Like, yeah, he wants to win, but I don't know if he's game planning that much. I think he's just trying to win day to day.
So that was actually my biggest key that I've noticed. I've told you guys, I've been rewatching old Survivor for this. I've been getting really into it.
Oh yes,
to win. I have a couple notes here. I think the biggest thing you have to be able to win. If you want to win, you got to be able to see both sides. You got to be able to see how the outcomes go, because I feel like a lot of these people, they stick to their plan. They go, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And then the votes come and it didn't turn out that way, or the challenge didn't up that way. You got to be able to predict both outcomes, I feel like, in these challenges, or else you're toast. Because if you just rely on one plan, I mean, you saw it going into one of these challenges, they were going to throw it, and all of a sudden the kind of competitive juices heat up, and all of a sudden you're trying to win all of a sudden. So I feel like if you can kind of predict both sides of things, you have a chance to win.
What are your thoughts on trying to throw it in general?
I hate it.
Throwing challenges never works.
It never works. Fun to watch. It's not a fun watch.
And
never ever works.
I think Kirk's backed up the words sometimes where he said, we've talked about throwing it, but it's not necessarily throwing it. It's if we lose at the end, it's fine. It's whatever.
Right.
But if you go back and watch those Survivor years where a team purposely tries to lose because they think they have an easy vote. It never works out that way, and somebody gets blindsided. And I don't think we've seen like big crazy moves like that in this game quite yet. Like there's been a couple blindsides, but I'm still waiting for like that big blindside that really nobody sees coming. And that, I mean, that's inevitable. Yeah.
Am I right to say that Keegs Keegs and Rico knew that they might want to throw it, but Biz did not? Do I have that right?
Biz definitely didn't know.
So
I don't remember.
If Biz finds out, that could be an issue.
Yeah, Biz is already like in Terminator mode going around since Wake Up bounced. So yeah, maybe that could be a problem. I could see that.
Yeah, I could see Biz not wanting to lose at all, but I could also see Biz just being like, well, whatever is best for the team.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of been his whole thing, which you can play that for a while.
Biz is very much got that, like, he seems like the nicest, like sweetest guy, like most playful guy in the world. And then if like you get just enough and you get to that moment where it flips switch, it's very much like very quickly like, oh fuck. Like, oh God, we need to get out of here. Everybody run. Everybody get away. Go, go, go.
I mean, you obviously saw the scene with Big Cat where, again, we're jumping around. I don't remember which episode it was, but it was when Big Cat was trying to apologize kind of after Whitney got voted off, and Biz wanted no part of it. Biz was, and this is where you forget these are filmed kind of in the same day, in the same week, where that's fresh on Biz's mind. He's like, get the fuck out of him. Like that wasn't 3 weeks later where he had some time to kind of relax. He was like, fuck this guy. Because Whitney told him on the way out, who screwed you here? And he was like, Portnoy and Big Cat. Don't let them win. And so you can just tell when Biz was eating. I mean, unless he's the greatest actor in the world, I think he was genuinely like, Big Cat, get the fuck away from me. I don't want.
I think he was pissed in that moment.
Yeah.
I think he was pissed.
Yeah, I don't think he was ready to fight him or anything, but I think he was like, dude, I'm not dealing with your shit. Like, I'm already here. Like, you forget these guys fly in from like across the country. Like, it's fun to us because we have to watch it, but like in the moment, you're like, you just want to win, and you just found out like your best friend just got screwed over by the two biggest guys at the company. You're like, fuck this. Like, I don't know. I could see Biz being like, get the fuck out of my face.
Right.
Canadian too. I don't think they're very cutthroat up there.
Right.
It's amazing how this game changes people, because I feel like early on everyone's really chill and just having fun, but as soon as there's a threat of somebody's name being written down, everyone gets paranoid. Or as soon as somebody goes home, because now in this game they find out immediately, like they start walking away and they tell their buddy on their way out the door. Like the emotions are like this, and people just they take this game very seriously. I think there's a reason why, like, Kurt came back for the season and other guys wanted to play again, because once you start playing and once the game kicks in, people they get worked up.
Yeah.
We've mentioned Big Cat a couple times already, man. There has never been anybody who looks like they're having less fun than Big Cat looks at playing this game.
He needs everyone to love him, and it's becoming extremely annoying. Like, I've always been a Big Cat guy, but just not even the stuff, like, take Kirk kind of hinting at stuff completely out of it on the KMS show. Just watching Surviving, I'm just completely sick of Big Cat wanting to please everybody. And then that the tribal council where he's like, it's me. I was like screaming at my TV, like, shut the fuck up, dude.
Yeah.
He's just moping around constantly.
Yeah.
I had in all caps on my notes, stressful watch. Because it's stressful watching him. Like, he doesn't seem like he's having fun. He's constantly paranoid. There's no even like jokes. I guess the one tried to see him get playful. It was with Biz, and Biz wasn't having it at all. It's just I don't feel like he's having any fun. You're right, and he is the snake. I mean, I feel like this is something that people aren't realizing. Like, Portnoy is the boss, and he's kind of the villain to everybody, but Big Cat plays the smiley role. He plays everybody's best friend, and then all of a sudden he's going to cut you right out. Like, that's the real snake right there. Everybody knows Portnoy is a snake. Big Cat's pretending like he's not.
And then Big Cat's like, oh, I didn't do it, or I didn't want to.
Oh.
Dave is in your face like, yeah, I fucking did it.
Yes, exactly.
Big Cat would be a great player on the actual game, other than the whole, like, he's playing so tight, but the way he talks to people and how he can kind of like ease people into situations, like, he'd be a really good player on the actual island if he could just figure out how to chill out a little bit and not be so annoying.
That's a good call. He is actually like a very like gentle talker. Now that you say that,
he can convince a lot of people. He convinced a lot of people to go the way he wants to go. He's playing too rigid. I think he was so worked up to not get voted out first, like last year, that like he's just held this like tension. And you can, like John was saying, like screaming at the TV. It's like, just relax. Like, he's got to settle down at some point if he wants to really compete in the end, I think.
The only other thing from the first episode is obviously Kirk Minahan just goes fucking balls to the walls and dominates the bottle throwing challenge. Great. That was a great challenge. I mean, him and Francis going right down to the wire, but that one was a fun one.
You just knew, and we've played basketball. 3 of the 4 of us have played basketball together. I didn't have any doubt. As soon as I saw Kirk was shooting, I'm like, oh, this challenge is a win. There's no way. There's absolutely no way. The fact that he was going against Francis too, I know that's been joked about on KMS. Kirk beats Francis. That's just what it is. And
I love that.
I know it's unbelievable. It really, now Francis admits it too. It's no secret.
That was funny. That was a funny call.
Yeah, he's great. I think he was. He again. I don't remember which episode it was, but we're gonna get into it at some point. I think he was a good sport about everything after the fallout there.
Oh yeah, that's where we're going from here, pretty much.
Yeah,
but yeah,
Kirk had his fan. That was like you were in your glory as a Kirk fan.
Oh, fantastic.
When he broke the glasses.
Oh, it was fucking amazing.
He knows how to put the cherry on top of every situation, which is great. He must be great at cornhole too, because that was like he had that cornhole stroke, just like I wish really that. The only thing in that game is I wish they weren't allowed to like wipe the bottle down.
Right.
Which obviously would have made it harder.
Crazy.
And longer. But by the time it got to Kirk, it'd be, probably worn off a little bit. But I'd be curious to see how it would go if they couldn't wipe that bottle off.
You don't, especially with this cat, like not even just this cast, but you would need referees on like every single person.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Was that the game? I'm getting some of the games confused. Was that the one that Portnoy was just dreadful at?
That was the next one. That's the puzzle challenge.
Sorry, I think that was all the challenges.
No, it's all good. We've been jumping around.
There's one of them though that was just, again, tough watch.
Yeah, that's the next one. Actually, I lied. The only other thing I had was fucking Whitney was my pick from the beginning. Knocked out, but he was my pick from day one. I did like a little surviving pool, and he was my first round pick.
The only person I have left is Moobs in my pool, believe it or not.
Oh, really? I only got one left too. I got Taylor the One. It's the only one I got left.
Whitney's scene where he was like, "We're done. If you vote moves over me, we're done." That was unbelievable, fantastic. Yeah, that was great.
I love Whit. I was like, dude, are you 13 years old? Like, come on, Whit. Don't take that back. You didn't mean to say that. You retract it. It's fine.
With this being Whit's first season, I would really like to see Whit in a future season because I think he'd play the game totally different.
For sure.
You can kind of tell the guys who've played before and who haven't, and I think Whit's a really good example. Like if you get another year or two, Whit gets on there, I think he would be a much better player. I think he'd know a lot more going into it. Like even when he was, on the chopping block, he's like, "There's nothing I can do." They're like, "Go find an idol."
Yeah,
like, go try to convince people. He's like, "Oh, okay." Like I'm just gonna keep watching golf. But
him talking about that on the show was so funny. Like didn't try to deny it at all. He's like, "Yeah, no, I just sat there and watched golf."
And when you do that, you end up at a house with Mincy and Clemmer, and one of them's high, the other one's jerking off. Like, what a scene! What a scene!
I don't know how they didn't record more of that house because I would pay to watch that like an hour a week those clips. But
is Big Brother's the one that they have the cameras in all the time, right?
Yeah,
and you're like, yeah. That's
you can't leave the house.
Put cameras on in that house would have been fucking wild. And then there was the moment where it was either Whitney or Moobs, and I was like, if Moobs goes into this house, it would be the wildest trio of people that you could ever pull from like different parts of the world.
It's actually a really good idea. Do a little big bar stool. And so you just start recording the people that go in that house because then you got all the tension of the people that got voted off.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of an interesting little side reality show they could probably make some money on. But
it'd be
you got to have like a cut scenes or something like that after all this. I'm sure Jeff Delo's whipping something up.
They're going to release something. I mean, clearly there was cameras in there.
Right.
That's a good idea. A little bonus episode at the end.
All right.
The unseen cuts, some shit like that. We go to the one we just talked about, the puzzle, the moving puzzle, which this one was a very this one felt very like actual Survivory to me. Like this was a challenge that I was like, all right, this seems like it's actually from the Survivor bag. This is a good one. What we said, Prez was useless. The bigger thing is the outfall of it. Red team loses again, and then Francis and Rowan come up with a good idea, like a very solid idea, but can't put any of the numbers together. And while doing so, he tells Rhea the plan. And the fact that Rhea hesitates even for a moment should be like the biggest red flag in the world to Francis. Like no matter what happens for the rest of the day, no matter what conversations I have with anybody, I am playing my idol in the next tribal council. You got to do it.
And Cinema, I think the fact that Francis realized he made a mistake when she sort of paused and when she left the room. Like he realized, okay, she's in Dave's back pocket or Dave's in her back pocket. He knew that. So then the fact that when they were walking into tribal council and she advised him not to play his idol, I can't believe after he realized that she was in such an alliance with Dave that he actually believed her and listened to her. That was my biggest takeaway.
My only explanation for that is it's like what Kirk had to do and go to New York to redo like basically those confessionals. Is that maybe it's like a backlog? Like Francis did that, say a few weeks ago or a couple months ago, and played it back. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like a confessional, like in the future that they looked back on,
Yeah.
where it was like, oh yeah, obviously, duh. That's
But
the only
either, obviously, hindsight is 2020, but still trusting her in that moment to not play your idol when you're in a spot where you could have foreseen that the odds were against you is kind of wild.
Yeah,
It feels like.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it feels like people are very hesitant to play idols, and maybe we see more of it later. But the only idols we've seen played so far have been fake.
Right.
You know,
My point with the idol was I would rather misuse my idol at the wrong time during a vote,
right.
than die with it. Right. Like
Yep.
you just even if you're not getting
Mick has
voted
been learning.
Yeah, exactly.
Mick's been studying.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. Do you guys know when in this show the idols are no longer valid? It's a top 5.
It's usually the 5. Yeah, it's usually 5.
So yeah, that's interesting. All right. Yeah, no, I would rather you just that's got to be Francis. I think at some point I said on the last show, Francis is a Harvard guy and he's dangerous in this game. I couldn't have been more wrong. I mean, that didn't help him. I mean, you know what I mean? He literally gave his idol away. It's like, what the hell, man?
You got people like that all the time, though. Obviously, Harvard, it's super book smart, but when it comes to shit like this, whether you want to call it street smarts or something else, it's not his bag.
Right. But I mean, you could see during the challenges, he kind of took over in a lot of them. Like he was a strategic guy, you know, he was planning and they were listening to him. But when it came to like reading people and stuff, he was god awful.
Yeah.
And even before that, he couldn't keep the secret that he had the idol. It felt like he was running around telling everybody.
Yeah, for sure.
and that's usually
literally everybody
closest is that you have an idol, and maybe you tell one, maybe 2 other people, but all of a sudden, if everybody knows you have an idol, it's useless.
Right.
No matter what, they're going to flush it out one way or another, whether they actually throw the votes on you or just convince you to play without throwing votes on you. They're going to get it out.
Yeah.
Where were you guys at on the whole Francis, Jeff D'Lo confusion?
So that was a good thing I thought we could talk about here because we're split 2-2 as far as I think this actually does in a lot of ways come down to if you've watched Survivor before, or if you haven't. Because from what I've seen like online, it seems very obvious to the people that have watched Survivor, like, oh yeah, duh. And then the other side is very much like, oh, well, no, I understand what Jeff was saying with his wording. So I think for me, from what I've seen, that's what it basically comes down to.
Yeah, and I think listening to it live, it makes sense, but I understand the confusion. My thought process is if you're going to play this game, do you watch a few seasons of Survivor, some of the best seasons, and see how it's played and see how, because they haven't changed any rules or anything.
No.
You know, so I don't know. I just felt it's a rookie mistake. I can argue both ways, unfortunately, but
yeah, I watching it play out. I guess in the moment live while it was happening, I thought there's no chance that Jeff D'Lo screwed up or anything like that. Rewatching it, I could see where people, saw the confusion and how he worded it. Because I think Francis said, "Does the idol die with me?" And he said yes, but that Francis was implying he had the idol at that point.
Correct.
Then once it doesn't die once he gives it to Dave. I understood that the entire time. I think Francis just in the moment, and even again, like maybe you could tell he was genuinely confused because afterwards he was like, okay, you're right. Like I'm leaving no matter what. But I think like you kind of have to know, like that's not like that's a crazy assumption to think the idol would just die, with you, or if you gave it away. That makes no sense. It just makes absolutely no sense.
Right, but I think from his angle, it wasn't necessarily an assumption because he asked a clarifying question.
Yeah, no, you're right. That if he was genuinely confused by Jeff's answer, then you're right, because I guess that's the only explanation for him, doing that.
The argument you can make is I think Jeff, what he said was accurate, but he could have said it in a less confusing way.
Yes.
Like he could have said, if you have the idol and you're voted out, the idol goes away. If you do not have the idol in your possession, you're voted out, it's still alive. Like there's ways to clarify it, but what Jeff said was still factually accurate.
I got to be honest. I actually kind of felt bad for Jeff in this moment. I feel like obviously it's not like regular Survivor where Jeff Probst doesn't know these people. Like you're friends with all of these people. And it's like, he's not obviously intentionally trying to like fuck over Francis with wording and ruling. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's like, and he obviously takes this whole hosting gig very seriously. So I think that's also, he's like, oh shit, did I fuck up as a host? Like, I don't want to fuck over Francis. I'm sure. I don't know. In that moment, I actually kind of felt bad for Jeff D'Lo. I was like, that's a shit spot to be in.
Yeah, and you could just tell the tension in the room. It got real tight in there real quick. Like everybody kind of buttoned up. Like even because like Francis was either about to make a scene or it was just going to be really awkward. Like it was just
right.
very, very awkward for a minute. And you can just tell like Jeff was doing the best he can. He can't play the game for Francis because I mean if he gave Francis a hint or something, people would kill him. So I think he did the right thing there.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah, I wonder if he did explain it a little bit further, would he have been helping Francis?
Right.
So that's a good point.
Hiding him almost, right?
Yeah.
I will say,
only go so far.
As much as I don't think Dave can win this game, I do love his honesty because he's literally like, "All right, just vote Francis out." Like he's not lying.
He's so
He's being totally
diabolical,
honest,
dude.
but he's just like, "All right, we're sticking to the plan. See you later. Thanks."
He did that to Biz too. He was like, I said hi to Whit. Like I looked at the camera and I waved. I said hi, Whit.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, why did that tribal council take so long?" Francis
That was great.
That was so funny.
That was fucking
was so
fantastic. That was like watching like an old school give and go. You know what I mean? Like fucking Rondo and KG at the elder years, dude, just running an old give and go. Dan just came out of nowhere, looked at Prez, was like, "Yeah, he's gay. Don't get that."
Big Cat wasn't even in the room when he initially he walked in. And he like totally got it. It was like, boom, all right.
You can tell they've done that a few hundred times before in other settings.
That was great. It was very, very funny. It's also kind of not weird, but it's a little interesting, I guess. I didn't expect to see Dave and Dan like really playing together. If anything, I almost kind of see them being like the heads of different factions.
I think they both realized like they went into it. I think the alliances to the end, right? Or to the top 5, whatever they said, whatever their alliance lasts or how long it lasts. I think they both realized there's no chance either of them survive without each other. You know, they're gonna need that vote eventually. Like one of the two is gonna need each other eventually in the next 2 or 3 episodes for sure.
I think Dave is looking for numbers, so he's pulling Rhea, he's pulling pulling Big Cat, and I think Big Cat knows his best chance to win is with Dave next to him in the final 3.
Mm-hmm. For sure,
that's his best chance. So he needs Dave next to him, and he needs somebody else that he played a better game than, I guess. But I think that's the way Big Cat looks at it. Dave just. I don't know if he can win. Maybe he can win, but I think Big Cat knows he needs Dave next to him to win.
The only other person I think that sorry, just real quick. The only other person I think Big Cat could take to the end would be Will Compton because he won last year, right? Nobody wants to see the double winner, but yeah, you're right. Portnoy would be the only other person.
I think as the game goes on, especially once you get to the merger, I think Moobs is going to be a bigger and bigger camaraderie to have. Like that's going to be a friendship that's going to be very valuable because no one's going to give her the money because she hasn't done any, unless all of a sudden she turns into a fucking savage at the merge and she just starts picking people off somehow and starts winning challenges and being a shot caller. No one's going to give this money to Moobs. So the farther you get in the game, the better it is to take someone along with you like that because you don't have to worry with them come final 3.
She's a pawn piece. And
exactly.
So it goes back a couple episodes when they didn't want to vote out Mincy. Mincy was a pawn, and they just voted him out because it was easy.
Right.
Yeah. She's kind of the female Mincy. Like, just take her as far as you can take her because she's just not going to get a vote in the end, or she shouldn't at least. But
which is at that time, like those are the still like you could have been taking out some of these athletes then. Like you still had the opportunity to do so. You could have used Mincy as one of your numbers. Actually, I think we talked about that in the last show. Right. Kurt could have grabbed the 2 girls, Rico and Mincy, to take out whether it be Taylor or whoever else. Will. But
CTE 3, they're so dumb.
That's
a good group.
That was a great
group.
Can we touch on that challenge real quick? That the puzzle where they're pulling the pieces through. How does Dave do it backwards? Like I'm a guy, I get confused like that all the time. But like I thought Dave was throwing the challenge purposely. He was so bad at that challenge.
Yeah,
he said he was doing it backwards. How?
I think the net worth took over there, where he was just, fuck this stupid fucking game, fuck this company, fuck. I pay all these people. Like he didn't give a fuck. He wasn't even trying. He didn't give a fuck. Everybody else was like, "Dave, do this." He was like, "Huh?" Like what? It was just like whatever.
Just a kid playing with blocks out there, just having a good time.
Watching. I was
Well, to what Steve said, I mean, we saw Kirk last year on that puzzle challenge, and you would have thought he was throwing that one too. Hank did think he was throwing that one.
Yeah.
So
Kirk must have felt so good watching Dave.
no kidding. Total redemption.
Yeah, okay.
That was a good challenge too. I could see that on like
yeah, it
actual
was.
Survivor, like the way
Yeah.
that was designed. They're doing a really good job making the challenges interesting and like keeping them close. I feel like.
Well, they've got the ex-Survivor like producer or
Yeah.
something, right? Or whoever.
Yes. Yeah.
I'd be
Kirk said
curious to
what
know
else
more
too.
about that person and like kind of what their role was on the original Survivor, because obviously it sounds like that person's helping out a lot.
Yeah, no, I'd imagine so, because you could definitely feel it. The other one was that like the spear drop challenge where you kept moving around.
That was cool.
Just like it's a total stamina thing. Anybody athletically can do it because you're just basically moving like 2 feet and catching a pole. Like it's basic athleticism. It just comes down to being able like stamina and endurance. That one felt very Survivor-y too to me.
Yeah.
But this was going that like you asked though, is that the like dyslexia? Because that shit's all backwards too, isn't it?
It's usually numbers and words though. So I
Words,
just don't know
right?
how you screw up the shapes, especially when they're directly in front of you. But
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I'd be curious to know what time of day that was filmed, how long after, how long of day they had. I think that could have been end of the day, him being like,
Right.
get me the fuck out of here. Well, will the other team win already? I think that was his mindset there.
You're probably right. We get into the episode 9, the last team. Kirk's team cannot be fucking beat. They're just going to keep on rolling. And the big thing about this episode, I think, is just Surviving Barstool, Survivor in general. Roan played his fucking ass off.
Sure did.
I mean, he did everything you could do, and he did it right. And it just sometimes the call just don't fall in your favor. There's nothing you can do. But
I think every person watching was rooting for him in that moment.
definitely.
Yeah.
I like Ron a lot. He just got screwed by that the regrouping of tribes. I think when he lost Kirk, he lost a lot. I feel like if he was on that team, I wonder if he would still be working with Kirk and if he'd still be in the game right now.
Yeah, I think so. Think of the big difference between the way Whitney played when he was kind of on his last leg versus the way Roan played.
No shit.
I
Completely.
love Roan targeting moves too. He had no problem going to the emotional. You know what I mean? That's the difference between him and Portnoy right there. Like he knew, he was like, if I have one chance here, I convince this girl that I have an idol, and he knew exactly who to go to. It was a very, very smart move by Roan.
I love the way he played it.
I know. I wanted it to work so bad.
He just didn't have the numbers at the end of the day. That's it.
Right.
But yeah, if he had Kirk and Will or whoever it might have been, I could see him going to the final 3 and winning the game just because he seemed like a very savvy player.
Yep.
Right. In general, someone mentioned the tribe shakeout. You could tell, like in the beginning of the game when there were 3 tribes, that the teams were like handpicked because they each had like an envelope with their name on it. So the tribes are very much already picked out beforehand. And then it didn't seem that way at all once they went to 2 tribes, because these things have been totally unfair, it seemed like, from the jump. I mean, you got 3 athletes, Kirk, Rico, and the 2 girls on one side, and then you got, not exactly the most athletically inclined people. You also got Megan making money on the other side too. So
Let me ask you guys this.
Squad of 8.
As someone who doesn't know as much about the actual show Survivor, so it's very similar, right? Where there's 2 teams and there's a merge, right? Yep. When the merge happens, do the nature of the games, or the challenges rather, change a little bit to make it more fair? Like, are we going to see more strategizing games rather than physical games once the merger happens?
So traditionally, when they merge to like no tribes, when it's 1-on-1, that's when you usually get to like endurance based things. And that's when you get like these challenges where they have to stand on a log for like as long as they possibly can.
Right.
But in traditional Survivor, most of the challenges they're usually balanced, like for immunity, because all the challenges, there's multiple challenges, but the immunity challenges are usually part physical, part puzzle. So it's always equalizes. Like if the physical team goes out and gets a big lead, they usually get slowed down by the puzzle. This one's a little bit different because you have dedicated things that I think are all puzzle. But you should see the challenges change a little bit once, we eliminate these teams. They have to.
Right. I'm just saying, like, a moves versus a professional athlete.
Yeah.
Is like,
I mean, in Survivor history, we've seen incredible athletes that just can't last. They don't have the endurance. And you see these, like, sometimes you can watch Survivor and you see a challenge coming up and you're like, oh, the smallest girl on that team is going to win this challenge because it's just designed to even out.
Survivor's also. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying, I'd like it on the record that Clemmer beat Taylor Lewong, so it can
That's
happen.
right.
Okay, it can happen. Move maybe can win. Okay.
You've seen on Real Survivor too. You get like the big athletes that are actually like in physically great shape and stuff, but because they're like so used to working out and having like good diets, they get to the island and they're on rice for like 2 weeks and they're just like incapable of doing anything for more than like 3 minutes.
They also have like hand-eye coordination challenges where like they have to balance a ball on like a
that's a big
or
one.
something, and it's like the longer you go, or you got to move it on top of a stick. So like I'd imagine they're going to be pretty similar to that, where it shouldn't be physically driven here, especially toward the end.
Yeah, balance, endurance, puzzles, basic. Yeah, like kind of like Steve said, at that point you want it to be as level a playing field for everybody. So the challenges should, I would imagine, be a little bit more not level, but simpler, I guess maybe. Let's see. Rome played his fucking ass off. Oh yeah, so we kind of already hinted on it. Fucking Dave and the moves thing. That was this episode. That was wild. Me and John kind of said it too, though. Is there any chance that that's a long con there?
It feels like it has to be. Like I said, knowing Portnoy and knowing how usually he's cutthroat, but at the same time, he does have that alliance with Mubi. So maybe he's trying to build up his alliance with Mubi a little bit, and everybody knows that Dave and Mubi are a team. Dave and Mubi are, whatever. And then maybe he sneaks her out at the end. Maybe he cuts her out towards the, or something like that. I have a hard time believing Portnoy in the middle of the biggest event that Barstool has, or one of the biggest events that they have, just all of a sudden is going to take feelings into consideration. And it has to feel like a long play. I don't know.
I wonder if it's because she's so new to the company. He has a very little relationship with her. So I just don't know if he like trusts himself to be able to do that and retain the person. If that person's been there for 2 or 3 years, I'm sure they cooperate really, really well, and they know that Dave votes a person out and they're okay. They still get their paycheck, but she's young and brand new to the company. It was interesting when Kirk and Whit were like, "You picked her on this team, and she was the only, or on this game, and you're the only person that she knew at the company." Mm-hmm. Like pretty much handpicked his alliance by setting up this cast.
Right.
When that conversation happened too, to kind of give me more defense and why I was thinking that, they go to like, it's a black and white cut of, it says it's Dave talking in a confessional. It says day one. Right. And they ask him, do you have any prior alliances coming into the game? And he said Moobs. Like right away, it was like, that's the only one. He's like Moobs. And then he says Big Cat to the merge. But then he's like, Moobs is like my only like alliance going into the game.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if he convinced her to even play the game by saying maybe she didn't really want to. Yeah. And he was like, listen, come on the cast. We'll be an alliance. I'll take you far. Who knows?
It's a big jump going from just
inside source on that. There was supposed to be a woman named I'll say her initials are BC was supposed to be in the game, and I think that's why Mubi's there. Okay, you can blame Zach Bryan for that.
She was busy down the Cape. She couldn't make it.
I'm interested how she would have done in this, because she would have made more noise than Mubi did. That's for sure. Or Mubi has so far.
Definitely.
I could see her doing pretty good in this. She also seems like she's like fairly athletically inclined. I feel like she'd be pretty decent at fucking challenges and shit.
I feel like if we could recast like 2 spots, obviously bring in BC. And I think if you get Tommy Smokes in there, I just want to see what kind of chaos he would cause.
Yeah, strange that he didn't play.
I know he doesn't have the biggest like Instagram followers or whatever, and Dave was kind of looking for the biggest bang for his buck. But like he's so good at the game, he's so knowledgeable at the game. He would have been a monkey wrench in this thing. Mm-hmm. And that maybe they would have voted him out fast, but maybe not. I mean, he's a smart guy and he knows how to play the game.
Every game show he's been on at Barstool, he's been like a target from day one, and somehow he still continues to win game shows at Barstool. He's won like 3 different ones.
Which is usually the best Survivor players in history, is they're always like, all right, this is our target, but they're like, let's not vote him off yet. And then all of a sudden they win the game, and you're like, well, should have voted him off.
Yep.
And real quick on that, it made me think Tommy would have been a million times better than Caleb. And I think we got our answer, that now that Caleb seems to be gone from the company, he just didn't give a fuck. He didn't care at all about this game. I mean, he's gone now from Barstool, or at least what it seems like. I don't know how true that is from what they talked about on KMS. So if he's gone, Tommy Smokes was way better than him. He would have been way better casting than Caleb.
That would make sense though, because he's been there for so long, just in the sense that like It's like, all right, you're going to be moving on. Like, let's go do like one last hurrah thing together. Like, he's been in Florida for so long now. He hasn't done any Barstool content with anybody aside from like Glenny's on the thing, but he just sits there and eats. It's not like it's not like they're actually working together and stuff.
Right.
So I could see that kind of being like, all right, let's do one last hurrah together before you fucking go on the greener pastures.
But Caleb had no interest in playing, it seemed like.
He also seemed like he was like high, like not like high, like high, like high.
Yeah.
But what was weird about that is when he got voted off, all of a sudden he cared. I think he was like, "Oh shit, I fucked up."
Part of my thought process of that was maybe he just thought like, "Are people catching on? Did I look like that big of an asshole here? Maybe I could play it up here for the camera. Like, oh wow, I was surprised that I got voted off. Like, dude, you were staring at your laptop for 4 straight hours. Well, why are you surprised? Like, what are you talking about?"
And then obviously the big thing about this episode is the way they ended it. They ended not just this episode, but our layoff before the holidays with Kirk fucking Minahan finding an idol on the treadmill, no less. Almost surprising he didn't find it sooner on the treadmill. But this is big. This was really big. He had to go with door number 2 too. No way.
I've seen some talk online that Jeff D'Lo planted this. I don't want any of that. I don't want to hear any of that. Just because Kirk Minahan runs, we can't assume things. Okay, Ryan, he's on the treadmill. Like we can't assume things. But I saw a lot of chatter saying, "Oh, Jeff hooked his boy up." Knock that off. That didn't happen.
So my question is, why did they end this episode with Kirk finding the idol?
Oh, here we go. Let's go, Steve. I'm with you.
This is the only episode we've seen so far that has not ended with a challenge or the fallout of a challenge. This is the only one that's ended with somebody finding an idol. So I'm thinking it's foreshadowing. I think Kirk does something big in this game, and this is the start of it. He finds this idol, and they're setting us up. They put us in this long layoff. They're setting us up for a big Kirk Minahan moment. And maybe he does win this game. But it was very interesting. As soon as I saw that, I go, it was awesome. Like he gets it and he's screaming at the camera. It was a great moment. Yeah. But I was like, they end the episode and then go on a 2-week hiatus. And the last thing you see is Kirk in this idol. And I think Tommy in his recap put it the best. He's like, it was like a Marvel, it was like after Avengers. Right. It was like a cutscene, and you're like, holy shit, this is happening. So I don't know. I think it's alluding to very big things down in the future.
I think, I think you pretty much nailed it, Steve.
All right, wow.
And then it was just a good edit, I think, too, like the way Kirk played it. So it's kind of good to go on a break with kind of an edit like that. Now, at the same time, Kirk, besides the big challenge he won against Francis, he has been playing in Kirk terms somewhat of a low profile game. Like he hasn't been in your face all the way. So I do think this is okay. He's been kind of under the radar. Now here comes Kirk motherfucking Minahan.
He's won a lot of
that. Yeah.
Which has helped.
Yep.
I didn't mean to cut you off, obviously, John. Sorry.
No. That was the end of my what I was going to say. So
I was say that's helped his game as far as coasting along. He's won a lot of fucking challenges.
Which, when you win, that's when you get to hide a little bit. You get to stand behind some other people and take the heat off you. This tells me that he's got leverage now, because my prediction is he doesn't tell anybody. Maybe he tells, but I don't think he tells anybody about this idol. And he's going to use it smart and use it when he needs to use it.
As a Mina fan watching that, I don't think I've been that excited for like a TV moment since like maybe like Malcolm Butler's interception during the Patriots Super Bowl, something like that. Like I legitimately was like, oh my God, this is happening. Like the music was great. It was great editing. It really was. It was. I was pumped. I did like a full fist pump. I was like, let's go. He's definitely now a player in the game. I mean, having that idol for him, I think it's more important than anybody else to have that idol, because I mean, again, Portnoy's not going to win. We don't think Big Cat's going to win. Kirk's one of those kind of on the fringe guys. Like not everybody knows him and he has relationships with some people. That idol is going to come in big, I think.
Yeah. Kirk's
hope you guys are right. Because I feel like I didn't like it. I kind of like what you just hinted at with the whole Marvels thing. It was just like, like Thanos wins Infinity War, and then they open up the next movie by cutting his head off. Yeah. And I was like, I feel like Kirk's been very playful about who's going to win and everything like that. But then there's been like little times where it just seems like he just said, like there was like 2 times, like mid sentence, not like aggressively. He said Terry rather than Rico, and I was like,
Yeah.
I heard that. I was like, that's weird. Just like little things like that. And actually, when I was in studio and he asked me who I thought was playing good, I mentioned Rico, and he kind of scoffed at that too.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that Kirk doesn't get caught with his pants around his ankles, and he's holding an idol in his pocket, and he gets
Well, what scared me about that cinema was Whit saying, didn't he say, I didn't even know that you had an idol? When Whit was in studio, he's like, I didn't know you had an idol.
No, I don't remember that. Oh, like on the phone call when I was there that day.
Are you saying when he spoiled everything that day?
Well, yeah.
Allegedly. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, I tried to go back on the audio. It was weird. I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
I actually had that in my notes. I was like, should we even bring it up, or should we just like be due diligence and just push it under the rug?
Yeah.
When I rank my favorites at the end, I took some in consideration. Okay, I'll just say that.
Okay. All right.
So are we in consensus that edit with Kirk getting that at the end wasn't just a good way to go into the break, but there's probably something more to it down the line?
Yeah.
Listen, the reason why I don't know is because if you go and watch like the promos for this, some of the main figures who are up front in like the promos, they're gone already. So I think the people are smart enough to realize like, hey, we can't just lead people on the entire way. Like you said, I don't know if they have an old Survivor producer, but somebody's involved where we're going to lead the audience to think one way, but not, just like you're saying, oh, we're going to have the edit at the end. Oh, that must mean something happens here in the next episode. You would think for sure. But maybe they're smart enough to think, oh, we're going to try to lead the audience on. I don't know, but I would think that's what's happening.
This was also an interesting part to lead off just because you also got to 11 people. So you would imagine that after this first episode, we're going to go down to 10. That would probably be the merger, I'd imagine. So even like in that sense, it's a little weird. You know what I'm saying? Like to go into a 2-week hiatus with a 11 group people just to come back for the first episode and then do the merge. You would think that it would happen prior, and then you'd come back and you'd be fresh off the merge kind of thing.
Right. That
to me also felt a little strange. And then there was a tweet from Kirk right after the show that said, the show goes through me. And even, I don't know. I'm just reading too much into things, but I read that tweet and I was just like, I don't like this tweet. Like, I don't like it. I was like, this reads like a tweet, like a man who wants you guys to keep coming back and like he's for us, like not for us, but he's going to keep going and he's not.
It was such a badass tweet after that scene though.
Oh yeah, it was great.
Right. It hit so hard.
He's not going to die with that idol. He is not. I know. I just know. There's no way. There's absolutely no way. There's no way. There's no way he dies with that idol in hand. So I don't think he goes. I would be stunned if we see him out in the next episode or in the next couple episodes. I think he's at least safe for one vote.
It is really funny. Obviously, we're listening to every KMS episode, multiple times, but Kirk might as well be Jack's brother, the magician with the sleight of hand, because everything he says, I don't know to go down the road he's leading us, or if I should just think the complete opposite. Like, do him and Big Cat join up and they go to the final 3 together? Like that's
maybe
totally possible.
Yeah,
it's 100% possible. Yeah. I definitely feel like him and Wick got a little loosey-goosey there in that unnamed show, and you can kind of sense it. And obviously, I don't know, I missed part of it, so I don't know what happened. But they did, Kirk has said things like, guys that just are yes men get chopped, and like reference the Biz. So I don't know if like we're gonna see that down the road. I don't know. Kirk, I wanna listen to him and believe him, but obviously he said multiple times now that every single player has won this game. So he's trying to mislead us. So I'm really curious to see how it actually like shapes up at the end of it.
Well, if you remember last year, Che was the guy that we hated, right? Stephen Che.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember leading up to it getting hints that Stephen Che was going to be the guy that was going to be hated. Maybe I'm wrong, but do you guys remember any of that?
No, I think you're definitely right.
So maybe this is a long play with the Big Cat stuff. Maybe him and Big Cat do team up.
I could see that. One thing we didn't touch on, and I wanted to ask what you guys thought is, did Dave give Rhea his idol?
Yeah.
And we didn't really see. He asked her to hold it, and then we didn't really see what happened after that, right?
Does Rhea Rhea has that going forward? I thought he meant like hold it.
As of right now, from what
said, if
he
comes back to give it back to him, but that part we didn't see.
But yeah, from what we know as a viewer, she has 2 fucking idols and a key.
Correct.
That's insane.
Yep.
That's insane.
Yeah, if she turns.
I mean,
that key
where were
into
they?
she's
Under a
doing it.
pillow? Like, I mean, what the hell is this about?
Yeah, these things have never been very well hidden.
Yeah, what's going on here?
So
Well,
does she give in your mind? Does she give that back to Dave?
You have to. They
Yeah,
can't.
I think so.
You shouldn't have 3 idols all of a sudden. You know,
Although now is the time where does anybody else know that Rhea has Dave's idol? Because now would
Dan
be the
was in the
time.
room.
yeah. Well, who
Okay.
else was in that room? Was it just
Well,
him?
Just Big Cat was. Yeah, it
You're
was them
Rhea
three.
and Dan. You could say, "Hey, we're gonna hold on to this idol, Dan. I'll give it to you. Let's get Dave out of here."
Mhm.
And then she has another idol plus another key. So like she has all the cards in her hand. If she does that and can actually get Dave out of this game and like move the game forward that way, how can you not vote for it in the final 3? Like you gotta put stuff on your resume, and like somebody has to start making moves at some point and making big waves. And she could make a huge wave by doing that.
Yep.
Yeah, Rhea's a problem right now. Which actually, I think that can probably bring us to Mick's. We got Mick's list, right?
Yeah, I'll hit you with it. So this was. I'm going to go through the list, and if anybody has any questions, you can hit me afterwards. But number 1 favorite, tied for first. There's 2 favorites. Number 1, Kirk Minahan, plus 400. Number 2, Rhea, tied, plus 400. Again, I'm considering the idols. I'm considering the play. I'm considering the net worth. I'm considering everything, the position at the company. I have those 2 as the 2 favorites because, again, the idols is huge. Biz, plus 600 next up. I think, again, likable person. I think athletic enough to carry himself in some of these challenges. And I think he's going to be the guy potentially at the end that is next to like a Portnoy or a Big Cat where it's like, I'm not voting for them. I'm voting for Biz. I don't think he's going to win going away or anything like that. It's going to be a default thing. That was my thought process there. Portnoy, plus 750. Now, again, that's him having an idol. I don't know if him and that you guys just threw me off there. I don't know if him and Rhea, how that works. If Dave has the idol, he's plus 750. Next will be Rico plus 800. Megan making money plus 900. Taylor Lewong plus 900. Mubi 1500. Big Cat 2000. Keegs 2000. Will Compton 2000. Again, I don't think Will can win twice. I don't think Big Cat's going to win because of who he is. And Keegs, I have no idea why I have Keegs there. You know, again, I have no idea. Yeah.
It's an educated guess.
Any thoughts on that? Anyone you think it should be higher? Anybody, you know, again, the favorites are Kirk, Rhea, and Biz would be my top 3.
Well, we kind of mentioned Tommy earlier and the fact that he's won a bunch of these Barstool games. And one of the things he's pitched is that he's already like won before. Like they're not going to give it to me again. And that's a huge thing for people to roll on is like, oh, they're not going to vote for me again. I already won. But then once you get there, you're like, well, hey, I already won. Everybody should have been targeting me. And somehow, some way I got here back to the end. So if Will does that, I mean, obviously, it all depends. It all depends on how he gets there and who he gets there with. But I can see a world where Will still does end up winning because he does exactly that.
Mm-hmm. And let me ask you,
he makes a good move.
Who would Ryan Whitney rather vote for? Will Compton, who wins twice, or Big Cat, who just screwed him over?
Well,
that's where you can do like a weird dynamic with like how you played the game affects your votes towards the end. So you kind of have to you have to be very, very aware of how both outcomes can play. Like those are the best Survivor players from what I've seen on my limited YouTube searching.
I don't see a world where Whit votes for Big Cat.
Right.
Yeah. So that's a great call by Mick. That's exactly kind of what the door's
mean.
open for anybody under the right circumstance.
If you get into a point with like a 2-1 vote or something like that, and it's somebody screwed somebody else just, you know, a couple hours before, because we all know this is filmed in the same week. Like, are they going to vote for them? Doesn't matter what their net worth is. Like, fuck that person. That's how I would vote.
Yeah. So I think your top 2 odds are great. I think that's like smart money. Where I would sprinkle a little bit of cash here.
All right.
Just a little bit.
All right.
Is Megan making sandwiches?
Oh, yeah.
Only because I could see her being the type that kind of clings on, tries to survive, can do challenges. So I think if she can kind of hold on and maybe get to the final 3 with, say, Will and Taylor or whoever that combo might be, I could see her getting votes and winning. That'd be worth a little sprinkle, I think.
So you would have her above Rico and Portnoy? And potentially Biz?
In terms of who I'd like, if we're actually putting money on things, like talking that way, like I just don't think Portnoy's gonna win. And Rico, I think, is too volatile. Like he's on everybody's team, which I think nobody likes. Right. But they're using Rico as their advantage. Where I think Megan is loyal. We'll see who she's really loyal to in the end. But that's where I would put a little money just for fun, you know.
Okay. John, what about you?
At the beginning of the show, I would have never in a million years even considered Will because of the back-to-back thing. But after we kind of talked it out, if I've got some pizza money laying around, those aren't terrible odds. I think I might throw a little on that.
I like that.
No, I agree. I think that there's definitely a chance. I talked about Dave too. Anybody, I think, at this point can win this fucking game. I think it really is going to come down to who plays it the best. Which I think right now your odds are pretty good as far as Rhea and Kirk. I think they're different games, obviously. Like Rhea's a little bit more in your face so far, but Kirk's been doing his thing. And we kind of already talked about it the last time, but he's in a good spot, I feel like, with Keegs, Megan, and Rico. That's like a solid 4. And once you get to the merge, you can maybe pick somebody up. You can maybe pick up a Dave or you can pick up a Dan, and you can make a big move there. Kirk's in a good spot. I think Rico at 800 is a good number too. I think Rico can be used right now.
Fighting his hand when he got called dumb. I was like, what is going on with this guy?
That was unbelievable.
Like he pulled a Frank. Like
if I had some couch money, if I found some money between the cushions or whatever, I would bet on Taylor Wong at plus 900 because
I just want to get him out though.
I understand. We'll see what happens, but I don't know. Something like I'm just judging on how people would vote towards the end. I guess that was my thought process with him because he's likable, and I think if they're in there with a Will Compton or if you're in there with a Portnoy and Big Cat, like you're pretty much guaranteed to beat one of the two, or is what it seems like, depending on how the other people would go with it. But yeah, that was my thought process there. I think Taylor is kind of my dark horse pick.
So we're talking about Kirk and the position he's in. Who do you think he's more loyal to right now, Will or Rico?
Will.
Yeah, I think Will too.
Just
because I think he knows that Rico's kind of playing the game with others.
Yeah, he should.
Yeah, but wouldn't that kind of convince you to be more loyal to Rico? Wouldn't you want to say, hey, try to convince him to be more on your side? Because if he's playing with Portnoy, he's playing with Big Cat, you say, hey, these guys are going to use you eventually. Team up with me now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The psychology. I'm telling you, I've been going through this so much. I've been reading.
You're learning.
Yeah, you're learning. You're studying.
Yeah. I feel like Cullinane, my mind is just getting changed like every
No, it's simply happened once or twice for me already. Even happened with just the Kirk and I was just talking about that in the episode. I was like, you know what? No, they're all confident. I'm fucking wrong. They're right. Yeah, Kirk's going all the fucking way.
Hey, Kirk has a legitimate fucking shot at this thing, though.
Yep.
No doubt.
I think looking at it right now, it's, with your odds, like we said, Mick, are the best right there, Kirk and Rhea. Mm-hmm. I think the final 3, it's going to be anchored by Kirk or it's going to be anchored by Rhea. So is it Rhea, Portnoy, Big Cat? Is it Kirk, Will, Rico? Is it Kirk, Will, Megan? Mm-hmm. Like, it's kind of fascinating to think because I feel like we have our sides there. And I think that's like, I don't think there's going to be a curveball next week where all of a sudden Rhea and Kirk are working together. I just don't see that. But I don't know. It's going to be a fascinating week.
So what? There's going to be 3 people gone this next week because there's 3 episodes, right? So it'll be a top 8.
Unless they throw a curveball at us.
8, 7, 6, and then we'd have 5.
Final 5, right?
Yeah, that's actually a good call.
It could be double eliminations one of these nights.
It might have to one week, I think.
That happens, huh? I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because we're at 11, so we go to 8, then we go to 5, and then we have the finale. Unless the finale is just really fucking long.
Is it a 3-hour finale, or did I make that up?
That's what would I feel like have to be if that's what we're doing. Especially if like the vote is live afterwards and all that shit. I feel like that have to be 3 hours. 2-hour episode, 1 hour, whatever you want to call it, award show.
Yeah.
Something like that.
There's going to be some curveballs. I'm excited to see, like Mick had talked about earlier, I'm excited to see what these challenges look like once they merge.
The merge is where everything's going to get crazy.
Yeah,
they keep saying how it's going to get crazier. The merge is where it's all going to fucking go nuts. Because you got so many people that are like Dave, Dan, Rico, Kirk, like they're all people that like mingle, like talk very like often. You got Kirk and Will. Like there's a lot of everyone's very close. Like there's a lot of tight relationships.
Yeah,
they're going to be tested. They're going to be put to the test. So this week we got 3. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week. So we're going to be dropping on Sunday because the football game. So who do we think's the first person out this week? Who's the next one? Who's the one? Actually, yeah, that's perfect. Who's the one before the merge?
Kelly Keegs.
Yeah, I was just gonna.
I don't know why. This popped in my head.
I have no idea why.
That's just a guess, guys. I don't know what you're thinking about, but
I mean, if that happens, there's going to be some fucking shifting around because that'd be crazy to happen right now. It's 4 versus 3. So if Kelly's the one that gets voted out, somebody's shifting sides.
And that potentially messes up a Kirk alliance, obviously. So
yeah, if Rico's the one that gets pulled away from Kirk, Rico votes Kelly. Something's gonna happen. I can tell something big's gonna happen with Kirk. You can just feel it.
So I guess the question now is who gets eliminated on Monday? We'll go back to the odds. Mooby or the field? Because like I guess Mooby's the odd man out on that team now. Like
we gotta see who wins the tough who wins the challenge, right?
Right.
So,
but I mean, if they obviously go, like, is Mooby like the clear cut answer?
I think
I don't know.
I think they drag her along a little while longer.
But they're down to 4 now, right?
Yeah. So who gets voted out?
So it's Big Cat, Mooby on that squad, and if they're forced to vote one of those 4 out,
yeah, you're right.
I mean, it's a great time for Rhea to pull a move on Dave.
So you got to make a splash like that.
Yeah. I mean, if I was Rhea, I'd be concerned about Dave working with Rico once the merge happens. Maybe she thinks
Rico's been telling Rhea everything.
Yeah. Rhea knows everything, but I don't know. I'm rooting for Rhea if she can pull off something like that. I just don't know if she has the guts to do it.
Well, she's the fucking king on the board right now. Kirk's right behind her. I would do like a 50, like 350 Rhea, 4 Kirk. I think Rhea's just got a slight little edge right now.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, like we said, we got technically two idols and a key. Probably more than likely she's going to give the one idol back to Dave. She has to. That alliance is what she's built her entire game.
Put it this way: if she doesn't, then nobody's voting for her at the end.
Right.
Like that's now. If I'm Rhea, I'm considering how people would view me in this. Like I know it's already happened, but going forward, from the position that we know, like if you have multiple idols and a key, nobody's going to want you to win. Like you're basically coasting towards the end, and you're just lying to people's faces over and over again. You're just a snake. So I think, like, I don't know. Like, I think for her to save some faith with the people, the voters, you got to give that idol back because nobody's going to expect Dave's going to win. No, Dave's not going to win. We don't think that's going to happen. And if Portnoy wins, this is the greatest show of all time. I swear to God, if this somehow happens, if Dave wins, it'll be amazing. And then he bets all the money on some stupid team. It'll be unbelievable.
but this is what happens in traditional Survivor, where if somebody goes on a run like Rhea, where she has an idol, she has somebody else's idol, she has whatever other advantage, if they can use that and make big moves, it doesn't really matter how big the lie is if the move is bigger, because then the jury respects the move. And if the jury can sit there and be like, yeah, I would have done the same thing, they're like, all right, we're going to vote for her. That's where it's a really tough balance of, did I screw people over or did I play the game the way to win the game?
You'll see petty juries all the time in not all the time. There's been a few in Survivor where it's just, you almost hate the jury as a watcher from your couch. You're like, dude, you guys are all just so butthurt. It's like, this is not what the game's about. Like, the reason why you're pissed is because that guy played his ass off. Give him the money.
But then there's other years where the jury recognizes how that person played and they played it so well, even if they did lie, cheat, steal, whatever it might be. They have to vote for him because they're like, this is how the game works, and we respect it.
If you're Francis right now, who would you vote for? Would you rather have Dave lose, or would you rather have Rhea, who lied to your face? Like you might vote for Portnoy. You might want him to win rather than Rhea. Especially if it's all filmed again in the same week, like you're just irrational at that point. You're like, fuck this guy. You just screwed me over.
But if Rhea turns around and takes that idol from Dave and was like, hey, Dave, I got your idol. We're getting out Mooby. And then all of a sudden she goes, Big Cat Mooby goes, let's get out Dave. And she's
Francis would respect that, I think.
Yeah, Francis would be like, I respect her game. Like, I'm going to vote for her.
So far, Rhea, if you had to choose one way or the other, like, has she screwed people over versus has she played a good game? I'm going towards the game if I'm a voter.
Yeah, I mean, I think pretty much we all knew, like we said, she was hesitant, or Francis and her were hesitant in that conversation. Like as a watcher, even I knew that was there was something suspect there where it's, you kind of have to know that. So she is playing a good game. She is.
And that's where Kirk has been very honest with people. Like remember when Jerry got voted out, he said, I'm not voting Jerry out. You guys do whatever you want to do, but I'm loyal to Jerry. I said I wouldn't put his name down. And like that goes a far way in a jury too. If he's sitting at the end and So like, wow, you got to the final 3 and you didn't lie and you played an honest game and you somehow made it here.
Right.
Like, then you're going to get votes. There's a lot of ways to put your vote down. I think it just depends how you look at the game.
Now, if you were in this, would you be keeping like a name? I just pictured myself playing this. Like I would have a name of everybody and who I think they would vote for at the end. Everything. I would have this all played out. Like, and I'm not surprised. Like the people who are super into it are doing really well. Rhea seems like she's really into reality TV. She's playing this game perfect. Like people like that seem to be the favorites.
Yeah, I don't know. Cinema, what do you think about that? Like, how would you handle being on the island or in that office? Do you think you'd like keep a list, or how would you handle that?
I think actually Kirk kind of mentioned it once on the show, talking in regards to Will. He's like, me and Will are very, very close. Like we talk all the time. We, got close to the first season, but he's like his podcast partner, one of his, his brothers is in the show with him. So he's like, I don't know if he's got more allegiance to me or to Taylor. It's like, so I think in that scenario, that's exactly what he's doing, is kind of keeping, a quote unquote list of like, all right, who's everybody's number one? How many times do I fall into that category? Am I anybody's number 2? How many times do I fall into that category? And you kind of got to move from there. I think I think you have to.
What changes the dynamic here is that they're all coworkers and they all had pre-existing relationships.
Exactly.
In Survivor, you're dropped on an island and you can't actually talk to the person that's next to you until you get onto the island. So they might drop you into the water. They might drop you on a boat. You can't say anything until you get onto that island. And usually the day one move is people will start pairing up. And it's like, hey, you look kind of nice. Like, do you want to go to the end with me? And then all of a sudden, like those allegiances are built. But in this game,
accents, I feel like it's a big one. Oh, you're from the South too. Like, let's team up. We're the South.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You're from New York. I am too. Let's go to New York.
But you look at this game and it's like everybody knows everybody, and everybody has some sort of relationship with somebody else. So it's interesting to see which way it's going to fall.
Yep. Survivor too, you have people lying left and right. As soon as they come off the island, you'll have cops who are just like, oh yeah, I'm a fucking school teacher. Just that people like don't know they're a cop, and like the little the little skills they might have as far as reading people or whatever it is.
Wasn't that the Tony guy a few years ago?
Tony did,
New York City cop, and told people, I don't know what he told people, but he was like up in trees spying on people.
He's great, yeah. Tony Spy Shack. He was the
Tony Spy Shack. He was
the fucking man. Awesome. He was so great.
But he was also really good at like he'll talk to somebody and like absolutely convince somebody like, no, I'm not doing that. We're not doing that. We're voting this way, and then all of a sudden.
He honestly, actually, in a lot of ways, now that you mention him, actually does kind of remind me of Rico, because he was also like a very jittery, like over energetic, like can kind of spin off the handle kind of guy. So that's
New Yorker,
New Yorker, good call. Yeah.
Only difference, he was a lot more talented. I feel like when he comes to playing this game, like he was very shrewd. Like he knew what to say and when to say it, and he wasn't running his mouth. And like I said, like he's hiding in trees, like spying on conversations. And it was good Survivor.
Imagine Rico in a tree just spying on you.
He's like under.
Actually, I can't. I feel like that would be right up Rico's alley. He's been following Dave around like crazy.
I'm surprised we didn't see. Well, Jerry had an actual camera.
That's true.
What else did Jerry have up his sleeve if he stayed in this game?
That's Mick, put that one on the list. Jerry Spy Shack. That'll be a good YouTube one. That'll be a good one.
One of the clips I remembered something from when I was a kid. I think I referenced it last time we were talking. It was a guy who he had his friend come on the show during Real Survivor and tell him that his grandmother had like cancer or something like that. So everybody else voted for him to like basically get like a hotel room for the night or some sort of like, comfort. Yeah. And then I watched it. I remember this as a kid and I rewatched it. I'm like, this is fantastic television, because they show the guy walking into like the suite and he's got a big smile on his face. His grandmother's healthy as hell.
Oh no.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah. I forget the guy's name, but it was great.
I didn't watch that season, but I heard of it afterward. But yeah, it's $1 million on the line. Like you do whatever you got to do to win this game.
Right.
Like you can't be worried about friendships playing this game. Now, in this game, Surviving Barstool, you might have to worry about, your relationship with the coworkers to some extent. But on the island, it's like, don't worry about making friends. You got to win that money.
Sure. And I mean, you heard the CTE3 reference that Francis just wanted a renewal. So he was giving Dave his idol, right? Maybe that's into play with some of this, right? You can't burn your relationship with the boss.
Yeah.
Someone just said Rico a second ago. I actually just thought of it too. But my girlfriend doesn't know anything about Barstool or anything about it, but she's been watching the show with me, and she's watching it, and she sees Rico, and she's like, this guy looks like if he just took like one more bump in the birth canal, like he would have been retarded. And I start dying. I'm cracking up laughing. And the very next day, Kirk says almost verbatim the exact same thing on the show. I was dying. I sent her the clip right away. I was like, babe, well done. It was like the same fucking joke. I was like, oh man, that's brutal.
I think I tweeted this, but I've been doing the same thing with my wife. Like, she does not know any of the characters. Like, she knows Kirk roughly and, whoever else. And we watched like the first episode. She's looking at Rico. She's like, why does he blink so much? I'm like, that's Rico. And it's funny. The person that she really liked was Whit. She was really sad when Whit got voted out. So
yeah.
Now, so that actually brings up a good point. Portnoy says that this would be the #1 watch show on Netflix or whatever it is. Do you guys agree with that? Because I think if you don't know the characters, you're less likely to enjoy it. Now, is that true? I don't know. Like,
it
definitely
definitely
knowing the characters helps for sure.
Put it this way: last season, when Kirk was eliminated, I did not really care to finish the season. This season, I think it's been so well done where I'm going to watch no matter what. Like, I will be into this to the end, even if Kirk gets voted off next episode. I want him to win, but like for me, I think it does help, obviously, knowing it, and I think kind of if you really follow the show, like if you're just kind of a fly on the wall, Dave Portnoy owns Barstool, you might not enjoy it, but if you really follow the dynamic of who's getting voted off, who's screwing who over, I think I think it doesn't really matter if you know who's who, as long as you're watching the show for what it is. Like, if you see Dave Portnoy screw someone over, you're more likely not to vote for him afterwards, despite how rich he is.
Yeah. Plus, I think after you watch like the first 2 episodes, you kind of get a feel for who these people are.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
I also think it helps that it's in an office setting. Like, it's a business with like employee, like in a way, everybody can somehow sort of relate, even though it's like a mega internet company. It's like, John, you work in an office and shit like that. It'd be literally like if you and your coworkers just started having a game where you're living in the office for 4 or 5 days. It's like,
and how many people can relate to that? Everybody,
Exactly right. So I think that's where, Joe can fucking watch it and be like, oh yeah, like I get it. Like, I get why this is intriguing without knowing the characters.
Plus, if they were going to put it on a network show, like, you could do an intro sort of describing the dynamic. You know what I mean? You could say like, hey, we work for this company to get, like, do a quick little prequel thing.
This is Prez. He likes pizza and dogs.
Yeah.
This is Big Cat. He likes donuts and coffee.
Yeah. Steve gets it. That'd be funny right away. Yeah, that's funny as shit. They
have done a nice job of like interlaying some old footage, like when the Portnoy calling Rhea, whatever he said about Rhea.
Yeah.
They like went back to old footage, and I was like, oh, that's nice. Like, I think if they could do that and maybe do more of that, it just help people. Like, if people have never watched it and have no idea who this is, like, probably a lot of people just tune in because they know the pizza guy,
right?
But that could probably keep people in longer too.
The Rico footage where they were like, "Oh, you off the meds?" And they were like, "Oh, let's cut to that clip." And he's throwing a big or high noon at Big T. Like, it was great.
Those like, 2 sizzle reels were arguably the funniest part of the show. They were fucking so funny. Yeah.
I'm thinking about going no meds.
Just the look on his face is like, that's not a good idea. Like, please don't.
After he did the bite of the hand, he talked about it. He was just like, I'm not really off my meds, but that's stupid.
That's the other thing too, is like, I feel like we haven't seen that much of Rico. Like, he's obviously a character, but we haven't seen that much of Rico. So does that mean we're going to see more of Rico down the line?
That's right. That's what always happens. Like,
he's a top 5 favorite.
Megan making money hasn't been seen. She hasn't been. That's usually a sign that she's not going anywhere.
Yep.
Usually, if you're going to get voted out or you're making a big move, either way, you're going to be a big part of the edit. And when you're just kind of chilling, it means like you're going to keep on moving.
Mm.
So, do we have anything else? Anything else?
Quick question for you, Cinema. I assume you have like a list of topics, right, on your laptop right there?
Yeah.
Does it say verbatim when we talked about Roan? Does it say Roan played his fucking ass off? Is that what you wrote down?
Basically, actually. Hang on.
I thought you read that like as part of your notes. I was like, "That's."
Honestly, it probably did.
They're literally just you sitting there going like, "Roan played his fucking ass."
My note says Roan worked his ass off to stay in this game.
Yeah,
there you go.
Mine's Roan played his heart out.
Yeah,
So
Okay.
I'm right there with you.
now.
Quote, Rowan plays his ass off. Does
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Point going home. Good spot.
Mine is it's right in the middle of my list. It says Roan almost pulled it off. My next bullet point is Mincy jerking off.
Oh,
And
what a
that is why we
story.
love the show.
Yeah.
Any of you boys got anything else?
No, I'm good.
No. All right. You guys want to do it again next week after the Easter 3? We'll do it before the final.
Yeah,
Would love
Absolutely.
to, me.
absolutely.
All right, cool. We will talk to all of you guys next week. Thank you, boys, for coming on again. Always appreciate it. And go Kirk.
Yeah, that's
Thank
right.
you so much.
Take it
Yeah,
easy.
boys. Have a good one.
Take it easy, boys.